After Dark podcast is sponsored by HHNUnofficial.com, the home of Halloween Horror Nights news and rumors all year round. Find us on the web at www.hhnunofficial.com. So stop the fog machines and clear the cobwebs. It's time for another episode of the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.
This episode is sponsored by Quicksilver Tours. Look, we all know travelling is the worst part of any vacation, let alone when hitting Orlando. And what do you do when you get to the airport? Magical Express is about to disappear. Free transportation as part of a package deal can be hit or miss, and no one wants to queue up for a long time to get a car hire. And that is where Quicksilver come in. They have a free stop for groceries for airport round trips, a complimentary meet and greet service, as well as luggage assistance. And after a 9-hour flight, who couldn't want some help with their luggage? And look, podcasts are always promoting things, right? But how many can vouch for the product or service? Well, we can, because Craig has used Quicksilver on previous trips and will be using them again for his next. And he went with 17 people. So whilst we know there are other good companies out there, we personally know how good Quicksilver are, and we are delighted to welcome them as sponsors. And you know what? We can even sweeten the deal. If you contact Quicksilver Tours for a reservation and mention this podcast, they will even give you a special discount of $5 off for airport round trips. That's off their already reasonable prices. So you've tried the rest, and now try the ones who, in our opinion, are the best by visiting quicksilvertransportation.com today. Don't wait. If you have an upcoming trip, book today.
Welcome to Disney Parks and Beyond, a Disney podcast about theme parks and all things Disney from the After Dark Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Disney Parks and Beyond. I am Nick, and for this emergency broadcast, I'm joined by Craig.
Sound the klaxon here in Elgin, in the Highlands of Scotland. Wah, wah, wah.
Reverse the mechanism. And also, we of course got Mr. D.
Hello there.
Hello, hello.
Sounds like the beginning of the Purge. Class 4 weapons and above are prohibited.
Yeah, exactly.
Murder is now legal for 12 continuous hours.
Well, he's in Scotland.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got to stop doing this. Although it's not our fault. Technically, this is not our fault. This is Disney's fault, not us. You know, we're quite happy with our schedule. Disney keep messing this up. And we only did an emergency episode, well, about 2 weeks ago, actually, about Galactic Star Cruiser. But unlike that, this time I have had people messaging me all day saying, are you going to do a podcast about this? Which never happens. So people are obviously really kind of het up about this. This is really spooking them out. So we are gathered here today to talk about Disney Genie.
Hello.
No, not you. You're the Disney pain. Disney Genie, which is the long anticipated kind of change. Yes, change to the Fast Pass system that came before it, and this has, as predicted, sent Diz Twitter, Diz social media into absolute meltdown. Like, everyone's head has fallen off, the sky is falling, people are never going back. It's distressing, it's upsetting. Very few people seem to be in favor of this. I'm sure they're out there. There might even be one on here today. I don't know.
I did see one on a forum.
There you go.
Yeah, and that person got lots of feedback very quickly, actually, from lots of people. Look.
Opinions are like arseholes. We've all got one. So, yeah, we thought we better get together and get it out quick, and talk about it to maybe ease some concerns, maybe address some concerns, maybe, just what our general feeling is on it. So yeah, let's crack on. Were we surprised when the announcement came out?
No.
Yeah, I was.
Were you?
Because because it's been rumoured and rumoured and rumoured, but it was like it's going to be halfway through the 50th celebration, it's going to be at the start, it's going to be end, they're going to bury it. And basically they have buried it, haven't they, at the start? Because what are you going to do? If you're going for the 50th celebration, you're going for the 50th celebration, so you're going to like it or you're going to lump it. I bet you nobody cancels their booking.
No. There will be not for the 50th, but there are definitely people that are at least contemplating. I've seen a few people say they cancelled their booking. I've seen a few people saying they're never going back. I don't buy it, if I'm honest.
That's like when Evertonians get Rafa Benitez as manager. We're going to burn our season tickets. It doesn't happen.
For our American listeners, this is a soccer story that Craig is now indulging in.
Soccer. Funny enough, Craig, I actually had a row on Twitter today with an Everton fan who had grand ideas above his station about the status of Everton compared to West Ham.
6.
Put him in his place.
67.
Yeah.
I think for me, I don't think it was a surprise. And the reason for that is that obviously Fast Pass was suspended through the pandemic, but everything is ramping back up again and they're getting ready for the 50th, which is, only, a month and a half away. So they're putting things back in place. I couldn't see them really scaling up the crowds for the 50th. Without having something in place, because it's just standby lines right now, isn't it? I mean, that's it, apart from Millennium Ride of the Resistance, which is boarding groups. But I thought they would announce it before the 50th.
And the Genie app was announced before they announced the pandemic, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is not new. We knew that something was coming and we knew roughly what it was going to be. I think it's what is included in this which might be of a surprise to people, but for anyone interested on what's going on elsewhere, we covered this on Discover DLP last month. It was the July episode, and we talked about what they were doing there, because that kind of was a bit of in some ways a precursor. Disneyland Paris do not have the infrastructure of the American parks. They couldn't launch Genie, but they've done their own thing, which kind of steps on the toes a little bit of what Genie does as well. So look, Mr. D, do you want to give us a kind of as brief as you can overview of what Disney Genie actually is?
Sure. I think before I talk about Disney Genie, because I was thinking about this earlier, I mean, most people knew how the paper Fast Pass system worked and then how Fast Pass Plus worked, but it might just be worth just kind of revisiting those, because Disney have used a couple of the concepts in this new system. So when you had paper Fast Passes, you booked nothing in advance. You went to the park on the day, you ran to the attraction that you were trying to get a Fast Pass for. So usually one of the bigger rides, let's say you're in the Magic Kingdom, you run to Space Mountain and you go to the Fast Pass machine and you put your Disney park tickets in there, and it would spit out a paper Fast Pass and it would give you a return time, and it was an hour. So let's say it's 9 a.m. and there was a board and it would tell you Fast Pass return for 10:20 to 11:20. So you put your ticket in and you get these paper tickets. And then you would come back at that time, you join the Fast Pass line, and that was it. You could only have one at a time unless you'd either hit the window for your Fast Pass. So as soon as you hit that 10:20, you could go and get another one, or 2 hours after you got your first one, whichever came first, right? And you could keep doing that through the day, so long as Fast Passes were available. And obviously on some rides, you get to a point where the Fast Passes would run out, the popular ones.
And it would be a pain because the classic experience for me was our first day at Hollywood Studios on our honeymoon. We rushed down to get tickets for Toy Story Mania because that was still relatively new. I think it might have opened the year before we went or something, or maybe earlier that year.
Yeah.
So we were like, we need to get a fast pass for this early. So we got there for rope drop and we queued up. And bearing in mind we got there for rope drop, our fast pass tickets weren't until 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And the thing is that fast pass, the fast pass booth probably closed about an hour after park opening because everyone had the fast passes for the day.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
That would bulge you up. That would bulge you up for the day then.
Yeah, you couldn't get. Well, I didn't know about the 2-hour rule, so that was a bit of a pain. But because of when we were there and how Disney was at that time, wait times around the park weren't too bad. So I think the most we queued for was probably about 45 minutes to an hour. It wasn't that bad in Hollywood Studios. But yes, that could ruin the rest of your day if that's your only fast pass you can get.
I mean, it certainly could be quite stressful if you were trying to get on something like Toy Story Midway Mania. And it was quite dangerous at times because as soon as they did rope drop, literally thousands of people running for the same one or two attractions. And there were I saw a few heated arguments. So it wasn't great from that point of view. And then also sometimes you'd be zigzagging back and forth across the park to try and get different attractions. And usually as the dad, I'd be the one that would have the 4 tickets and I'd leave Kerry with the kids and I'd run across the park and try and get some fast passes and then run back again. Yeah. So it was pretty hard on my feet, but that was the system.
We'd have radios, 2-way radios.
Yeah, we did that.
Or we'd have American SIM cards.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff. So it wasn't a nightmare. It was just hard work. So, but then Fast Pass Plus come along.
Yeah. So Fast Pass Plus was completely different. You could pre-book your Fast Passes. And if you were staying on site in a Disney hotel, you had an advantage because you could book them 60 days in advance. Now, it was a tiered system, so you could book 3. So you had to choose the park that you wanted to go to because the 3 Fast Passes had to be for the same park. So again, let's say you're going to go Magic Kingdom, but they were tiered. So like Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, and maybe Big Thunder, I can't remember. They would be like the top tier. You could have 1 of those. And then you could have 2 others from lesser tiers. So maybe you would have Space Mountain and Fantasmic and, I don't know, Peter Pan, something like that. So, but you could get your 3 in advance. So you knew what park you were going to that day. And so you could book ADRs and plan. And so it was almost the opposite of the paper system. Paper system was, I'm going to go to this park and I'm going to get, I don't know what. Fast Pass Plus, I'm going to book everything way in advance. 60 days if you're on site, 30 days if you were an off-site guest. So the on-site guests had pretty massive advantage really when it came to getting, the good Fast Passes.
It was 60 days plus 10 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if you were, good point, Craig. So if you were gone for 2 weeks, like the typical Brit, on that first day, you could book your Fast Pass for the next 10 days after. So the first day plus 9, which was a massive advantage versus people who were gone for shorter periods. Say like your typical American family who go maybe 5, 6, 7 days, because you would be booking, quite far out. And the strategy I use, which I think I've talked about before, is for a really, really popular attraction, say like Flight of Passage, I would actually go on my 60-day mark, but I jump straight to the 10th day. So I'm actually at 70 days and I'd book Flight of Passage for that day and I'd start working back. And I'd just accept the fact that by the time I got back to the early days of my holiday, I wouldn't be getting, the top Fast Passes, but I'd still be getting good Fast Passes. And I didn't care because I'd have, 2 or 3 Fast Passes for Flight of Passage, for Soarin', for whatever. So it was very much pre-planned, very structured, thing. Now, when you were in the park on the day, you could, once you'd used your 3 Fast Passes, you could then use the app or the terminals to try and get another fast pass. But typically they'd be the lesser, the less popular rides. And that was where you had to be careful as well, because if you booked a fast pass for, say, 8 in the morning, another one for 12, and another one for 4 in the afternoon, it means you aren't using your third fast pass to 4 in the afternoon. So you can't then book a fourth fast pass until after that one. So again, there was a lot of strategy and planning involved in Fast Pass Plus. All right.
And the thing is that, like, some people, like you guys are good examples of this. You would sit there with Excel spreadsheets and work out, what you were doing, very regimented, everything like that. I was never that person, and I was there before Fast Pass Plus the last time, but we said, right, these are the parts we want to visit on these days. We kind of planned that element of it. But that was subject to change. If we decided actually we don't want to do that, then that's fine. Whilst when you guys are planning this, you've got your fast pass, that's it. You don't want to lose those fast passes, so you are stuck to it.
Yeah, and of course the other thing that locked you in was for years and years and years. In fact, until very recently, most of us would go on free dining. So again, you're locking in your
180 days locked in.
180 days, yeah. So very often you would actually pre-plan your park if you were going to eat in a restaurant in the park, or even if you were going to eat in, say, Ohana's. You think, okay, Ohana's is near the Magic Kingdom, so that day that we book Ohana's, we're going to go to the Magic Kingdom, and then it's 60 days. Then you'd be trying to get, Magic Kingdom fast passes for that, So it was a very structured, very pre-planned approach. Now once you get into the holiday, there would be times when you change stuff. You just say, you know what, we've already done Haunted Mansion 4 times. We've got a fast pass tomorrow for Haunted Mansion, but we'd rather go to a water park, or we'd rather go to somewhere else. So we would flex it a bit, but
and you could cancel it as well and try and get another fast pass. And our record on one day in the Magic Kingdom, everything, the stars aligned. We got our early fast passes first thing in the morning. We got 13 fast passes in one day.
Yeah, you're done well there. Yeah.
And we smashed it, and we were there from park opening to park close, but we did it.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
So what's next?
And the thing is as well. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say.
No, go ahead,
the other thing with that as well is it did mean, when you weren't staying on site, and this happened to me in P-Dubs, or we went to Hollywood Studios for the day, we only had 30 days. At which point, and we did it, as soon as reservations opened up on that 30-day window, we were on first thing in the morning, or P-Dubs was. And, the best we could get was Tower of Terror, Indiana Jones, and Muppet Vision. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was none of the attractions that we wanted to, Tower of Terror wanted to do, but, that was it.
Yeah.
So everything else was queuing up time. But so Genie.
Yeah, so the previous Fast Pass Plus system, you could book the fast passes and track everything through your My Disney Experience app. So what's been introduced now is a new app, or I'm actually a little bit unclear whether Genie sits within My Disney Experience or not, because he kind of talked in the video. Disney produced like a 50-minute video, and it was a little bit unclear. But anyway,
well, I can confirm that it says it's built right into the My Disney Experience and Disneyland apps. So it's going to be
so they seem
those.
to be like an overarching umbrella. I know you're going to have this Disney Genie app, and it's going to do lots of stuff. It's going to do a kind of touring plans type thing. You can put in your preferences in terms of, specific rides that you'd like to ride, but also kind of more general. You can say, I like Star Wars, or I like Marvel, or I like classic characters, or whatever. And it'll kind of make suggestions.
Give you a touring plan, I think. That's
it'll give you a touring plan, or at least, it will. It'll produce a kind of touring plan. So the basic Genie app will be free, so you don't have to pay for that. But there is no free fast passes now, right? So they're gone. So if you want to go and have the basic Genie app, that's free. If you want to go to the park and go into the standby lines for any attraction, that's fine, and that's still free.
Well, hang on. Before we go into the add-ons, what does the free tier get you? So just having the Genie function in these apps, what do you get?
Well, my impression is you get all the rides and all their wait times, and it tells you where best to manage. So you've told it, like Paul said, you've told it, I love Cinderella, I love Snow White, I love Small World. It'll tell you what times of the day. You've just come out of Splash Mountain. Small World's a 10-minute wait. You want to go on that ride, go and ride it now. That's my impression.
Yeah. It seems to say, I'm looking at the Disney Parks blog post on it, and it says, I mean, there's a video that you watch which kind of explains it a bit more, but it says get itinerary updates from morning to night. So Disney Genie will continue to update your itinerary throughout your day so you can be more spontaneous and go with the flow. Find your favorites at a glance, create your very own personal tip board to instantly see your favorites. It will display current and forecasted future wait times, helping you predict when you might experience quicker entry to attractions. So that is very touring plans, isn't it? And enjoy more flexibility and fun. Disney Genie brings existing planning features together in one place. Join a virtual queue at certain attractions, make dining and experience reservations, mobile order food at many locations, get help from a virtual assistant and more. But that's where that kind of ends. But just look at that, and to paraphrase them at a glance, that to me, the bit where it says displays current and forecasted future wait times, that is really going to eat into touring plans, considering that is part of the free part of the app. That's
right. And obviously, touring plans have been going for a long time. There are some interesting dynamics here because Disney's wait times have got a history of being less than accurate. Are they gonna change that? Or are they gonna have the posted wait times pretty much as they have been, but then the wait times in the Disney Genie app, are they going to be different? Are they going to be more accurate? So there's a number of different questions about this, and I know that touring plans have said that once this thing's up and running, they're going to do and publish a head-to-head comparison between their touring plans and the Disney Genie Plus touring plan. So that's going to be really interesting.
I think the difference for me is touring plans relies on staff to go through the rides, queues themselves, through a load of data, historical data. But on any given day, Joe Blogs can go on the touring plans app, say, I'm at the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, start the clock, I'm walking through the queue now, it's a 90-minute queue, I'm on the ride, sends that data off. That's relying on human beings to provide them with up-to-date data. I think this Disney app is going to be using NFC, is it? And Bluetooth technology, because you're going to have to give a whole load of permissions to Disney when you install this app. And I think as you're walking through the start of the queue and you're getting on the ride, I think you're going to be, unbeknownst to you, like with the sat navs that you can't. How does the sat navs now know that there's a traffic jam up at the top of the road? It's because all the cars have got all their phones all pinging all this information. I think that's how Disney are going to do it.
But
I mean, to be fair, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that the problem with the touring plans model is with their staff will probably be pretty accurate. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what they're there for, right? But if you're also relying on users, how many users get to the front and forget to press stop?
Yeah, because I'm getting on Seven Dwarfs.
Don't press stop until they actually get off the ride and think, oh God, I didn't press stop. Do you know what I mean? So okay, it's not going to throw the algorithm out by lots, but what I'm saying is all of these things that are manually based, which touring plans is at the moment, are going to be subject to user error. Now, Disney's, what Disney use at the moment obviously doesn't work as well. And it doesn't matter what park you're in, wherever in the world, you've been queuing up for an attraction that says 40-minute wait and it's taken an hour, and you've also queued up for something that says it's an hour wait and you've been through in 25 minutes. So, that technology as it stands doesn't work. However, this is being built into an app. So as Craig says, if you've enabled your permissions, which it's going to ask you to do, it's going to track you every step of the way. It's going to know when when you're in the queue, as you go through the queue, and when you get to the front of the queue. So that sounds like it's going to be more on the ball than anything we've got currently.
It's true, and I think the question though is, will Disney just publish the raw information like that, which should be very accurate, or are they going to manipulate the wait times to spread people through the park and to actively manage the queues? So they may not want you to know, that this ride's got a low wait time. They might want to push you somewhere else, and that's been the thinking before, because sometimes the wait times are inaccurate, and it's not because Disney doesn't know they're inaccurate. They just seem to choose to leave them at higher levels. And the Disney system for tracking the wait time should actually be pretty accurate, because they give you a lanyard, and I've done it. I mean, you've probably seen other people. The cast member at the beginning of the ride gives you a lanyard, and it's got some kind of tag on it, and then at the end you hand in the lanyard, so they know how long the wait time is now. They can do that as many times a day as they want, but they still choose to post inaccurate wait times because it seems to help them distribute crowds and manage crowds. They actively push people away from certain rides to get them in other areas of the park. So that's the question. If you're paying for the Genie Plus app, is that what you're paying for? Are you paying for the truth? Right? And if you don't pay for it, you're getting Disney's managed numbers. That, to me, that would be a question.
I mean, it doesn't seem. So I'm just looking at the paid for bit now. So this is the Disney Genie Plus service, very similar to Premier Access Plus at Disneyland Paris, in that it's just stick a plus at the end of it and it's suddenly an upcharge thing. So this is what Disney Parks blog says, and I know you guys have read other things and heard other people speak, but this is what they're saying. So for the price of $15 per ticket per day at Disney World Resort and $20 per ticket per day at Disneyland Resort, choose the next available time to arrive at a variety of attractions and experiences using the Lightning Lane entrance, which is replacing the Fast Pass lane, right? You can make one selection at a time throughout the day, from classics like Haunted Mansion to thrill rides like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and newer favorites like Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, attractions subject to limited availability. This convenient option is the next evolution of the fan favorite Disney MaxPass service from Disneyland Resort. Disney Genie Plus will also include Disney Parks themed audio experience and photo features to capture your memories, augmented reality lenses for those visiting Walt Disney World, and unlimited Disney Photo Pass downloads from your day if you're visiting Disneyland Resort. So it's interesting that Disneyland are still keeping what they had as part of MaxPass in, it's basically your photo pass for the day. But Disney World augmented reality lenses, that to me suggests that that's going to replace the magic photos.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it actually shows some of that in the video. Right. So it's almost like the special photo pass photographs you used to get, where you have like a character superimposed in the photograph. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's what I meant. Yeah,
so but it's almost like
you're doing a job of a photo pass photographer. Basically, you're doing it yourself with a Snapchat filter that's been built into the app.
Yeah, but it I guess the regular photo pass though doesn't seem to be included in this for Walt Disney World. It does for Disneyland, but not for Walt Disney World.
No,
what's being included are these special effects that you can overlay on your camera phone to take your own special, photographs that have got Mickey Mouse in them or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think that the dangerous thing for that is, right, we were turned away from Rock and Roller Coaster once for doing the sign of the devil, one in the pink, one in the stink, that thing.
That's not the sign of the devil.
We can't give you that photo because we'll get sacked. That's what they were like, right, on the photo pass. And we were like, why? It's a rock and roll pose. Everyone does it. No, we can't. We'll lose our job for that. But so the photo pass people, when you've got a pretend character like Olaf or whoever standing next to you, that is a very specific. You've got to do a specific action for that character to show up on the photo pass. But you could literally put any filter on the chipmunks and Flash Mountain, some bird with an orcs out with the chipmunks in front. Do you know what I mean?
How? No, that's not going to work. How are you going to get your ride taken on Splash Mountain?
The ride. No, not the ride. So you're just out anywhere in the parks and you want to do a special photo.
Yeah.
You can literally manipulate that photo for you to be doing whatever you want. And Goofy's standing next to you.
Right, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And then that gets out into social media and all over the place. And Disney haven't got control of that, whereas Disney have currently got control of all the photographs that day.
Well, yes, possibly, but what if the photos you take are taken through the app, i.e., you have to download them onto your phone?
Oh, yeah, I hope so. Maybe,
I mean, that's how you bypass that. But you're absolutely right. If it's just this is a filter using your standard iPhone camera app, then yeah. But I bet this will be done through the app, so they can monitor that. But we'll see.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. The second part of what you get for. Oh, actually, no, sorry. So that's what you get for $15 or $20. Then you've got another thing, which is individual attraction selections, which are, just says in brackets, available for purchase. Schedule time to arrive at 2 highly demanded attractions each day using the Lightning Lane entrance, like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic Kingdom Park and Radiator Springs Races at Disney's California Adventure. Subject to limited availability, attractions not included with Disney Genie Plus, and pricing for this option will vary by date, attraction, and park, and will be announced closer to launch. That is exactly what we get in Paris right now. And on the latest episode of Discover DLPs, the one we released last week, the August episode, we went through the attractions in each park that had this and what the pricing was, because literally every attraction, there was about 4 or 5 prices, but every attraction was different. So, for example,
I think we've jumped to the last bit, and I don't think we've covered the Genie Plus Fast Pass bit.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So there's two different pieces, but I think what you're talking about, Nick, is the second piece.
That is yes, I was. Yeah.
Right. I think the first piece is, so for the $15 at Walt Disney World, $20 at Disneyland, you get Disney Plus on a daily basis. Right. So that's the first thing. So it's $15 per day per person. Yeah. So a family of 4 is $60 per day, right?
Yeah.
My understanding is you can buy it kind of on the day, and if you're there for 2 weeks, you don't have to buy it every day. You can. So if you're having a non-park day, you can choose not to buy it that day, which would kind of make sense. Let's say you're going to go to the Florida Mall for the day.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to spend that $60. So my understanding is you can pick and choose the days that you want this for, and the days that you don't want it for, and the number of people that you want it for, right? And you get all the things that we just talked about in terms of the information services, the tour and plan type stuff, the booking the restaurants, blah, blah, blah. But you also get this facility that for most of the rides, but not all of them, not the tippity top ones, and we'll come back to that when we talk about your second bit. But for most of the rides, you can buy essentially what was the paper Fast Pass system, right? And that's why I wanted to talk about the paper Fast Pass system, because it kind of is that. So you cannot pre-plan or pre-book your Fast Passes anymore. The whole 60-day thing, 30-day thing with Fast Pass Plus, that's gone. You buy your Genie Plus, say you buy it on the day, and you can reserve one Fast Pass at a time. And what hasn't been published yet is when can you get your second Fast Pass. Everybody is assuming that it's similar to the paper system. So either when you hit the window for your first Fast Pass, so again, let's say you get Haunted Mansion for 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Once you get to 11 a.m., you should be able to jump on the app and get a second fast pass for another time later in the day. That's what we're assuming, but we don't know that. Or after a certain period of time, I've heard 90 minutes, I've heard 2 hours, but again, it's all rumour and speculation, then you should be able to get a second fast pass, because it does say that you'll be able to get these passes through the day, and they don't call it fast pass anymore, they're calling it lightning lane. So the lightning lane is the physical place that you will go to get a quicker access to that attraction. Genie Plus is the app that you book it through, but Lightning Lane is the place that you go on the ride to actually get in quicker. Yeah.
Now,
does that make sense?
Yeah. But again, it's not all the rides.
No.
So the big hitters in all the 4 parks won't be included, because they're going to be Lightning Lane premium payments, similar to Disneyland Paris.
Well, Lightning Lane Plus, that's Lightning Lane Plus, right? But just one other thing on that. My understanding from something I read on, I think it was on the actual Disney official thing, is you can book those attractions in different parks on the same day. So it does enable park hopping. So in other words, you go to Magic Kingdom in the morning, you can book Haunted Mansion. If you park hop to Epcot in the afternoon, you can book, Spaceship Earth, assuming you can still get a ticket for Spaceship Earth at that time. So it does include that. But that is most of the attractions. And they specifically mentioned Smuggler's Run. So that is one of the attractions that would be included in the Genie Plus. But on the other piece, Nick, that you were going to talk about, the second piece, the Lightning Plus lane. Yeah. It specifically mentions Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, for example. So they're talking about a couple of attractions in each park will be this super premium level. So do you want to cover that bit? Back to what you were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah. So in Disneyland Paris, as an example, Autopia costs you €8 to jump the queue on. Buzz Lightyear, Peter Pan, they're €15. Tower of Terror was €12. So there's no kind, and I think actually, if I remember correctly, I think Star Tours was 12, maybe Space Mountain was 8, and Thunder Mountain was 12, something like that. They all varied. None of them really make much sense. To me, the big thrill rides should be more expensive. Peter Pan, obviously, that's a bit of an anomaly because that's just a very popular ride anyway. So I can understand trying to charge top dollar for that. But I mean, who's going to pay for $8 to ride Autopia? I know it has a quite big queue sometimes, but that's the Disney World Express. What, what's it called?
It's like Tomorrowland Speedway.
Tomorrowland Speedway. It's the Paris version of that. So I mean, you wouldn't pay for that attraction, right? No one would do. So that's what it is at the moment. I think there was about 8 or 9 attractions, if I recall correctly.
That's a big difference, so isn't it? So at Disneyland Paris, all of the rides are just queue up rides now, which they were anyway, weren't they?
Yeah.
And these legacy Fast Pass rides are now Disney Premium Plus or whatever.
Not necessarily, because Autopia never had a Fast Pass. So that's brand new. But for the most part, most of the other attractions that are on this list in Paris did have a Fast Pass ticket machine.
And in Paris, you can spend, I think it was €95 a day per person to pay for every single one of them rides if you choose.
Correct. Yeah, it works out to be about 95. Yeah.
So, but at Disney World, you're limited to 2 a day, and the prices have yet to be released, so we don't know any specifics. It could be $10, it could be $40. They're not going to be $40, but you know what I mean.
I think if you're going to charge 15, my personal guess, if you're charging $15 to get access to these other rides and to be able to do that, they can't charge more than that.
Well, the rumors, and again, it is only rumors, is the range will be like $4 to somewhere around $24-25. However, the expectation is that the pricing will be dynamic, and what I mean by dynamic is, at a really popular time, say on the 4th of July, if one of the attractions is Flight of Passage, say, on the 4th of July, to ride Flight of Passage, when the parks are rammed, it may be, say, $25.
Yeah.
On a wet Tuesday in January, when the parks are quite quiet, it may be $15 to ride Flight of Passage. So,
and that is also...
there could be ranges on each attraction, as well as some attractions being more or less expensive than others.
Yeah, and that's what Disneyland Paris is doing. So what's quite annoying with what they're doing at the moment, actually, is they've got the signs up on these attractions to say, oh, if you want to jump the queue, go onto this app or go to Town Hall and book yourself a Disney like Premier Access slot for this ride. Now, the thing is, there's no pricing for it. And it doesn't even say it's paid for. So the first that you're going to find out is if you go to the app or you go to Town Hall, because you think, oh, this is like Fast Pass, because it tells you what it is and it sounds like Fast Pass. And then they say that will be €60, please. That's a big problem. What it should do is say, well, two things. It could either just say, for the latest, for the up to the, for today's price, look on the app, or it could have like a little screen or something that tells you what today's price is. Like a currency exchange. Do you know what I mean? Like there's ways that they could do it. So that is what they're doing. So when we talked about the pricing at DLP, that was based on what they are currently. That will undoubtedly change as the seasons go and as crowds rise and fall. And my guess is that those prices will come down, like you say, on that cold Tuesday in January, when the park isn't very busy, because you're more likely to pay for that if it's, say, $15 when it would normally be $25, because then you think you're getting a bargain. All it is that actually they just want to get some extra money that day.
Well,
so that's what
and
they're doing.
The thing is, if it is a cold Tuesday in February or January, whatever it is, and the standby lane is only 20 minutes, you're not going to pay $25, right? You're going to go, well, I'll just wait 20 minutes. But if it's $4, you might go, do you know what? For $4, save 20 minutes. It's freezing cold. Yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
There's a couple other things.
Go on.
Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say, on one of the touring plans things I read last couple of weeks is basically currently at Disney, and I think Disney need to be transparent about this and publish all the information so people can make an informed decision, not just touring plans saying what it is. But it was like an 80-20 split. 80% of an hourly pass-through of a ride was for fast passes, and 20% was for standby line. So absolutely, they were a massage. So it could be a 3-hour wait for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but the queue didn't look that big. But now because there's no fast passes currently, the same ride is showing a 3-hour wait, and that queue is halfway round Fantasyland. So,
now, Craig, I know this is different, but it is related, right? I've obviously not used Fast Pass Plus. I've not been to the parks, just that one day. But my big experience of that is when we did Halloween Horror Nights with Express. And what we did on some nights is we'd queue up for a house and think, oh, this queue isn't too bad. And we'd be in the Express line because we had the Express to use. And actually, people were passing us in the regular line. So sometimes you think being in the standby in the Express line is actually going to be quicker. It's not always the case, because they're obviously trying to jumble how many regular people they're letting in compared to how many Express people they're letting in at one time.
They've got to keep them moving as well. Yeah. But it was very, very regulated in that respect. And because these people have got fast passes that need to be used and they need to get them through. But now, at the moment, it's 100% standby.
Yeah, but I've had it both ways. I mean, I've been in the standby line and they're letting you in, and then all of a sudden you get to the cast member and they say stop because now they're going to let 50 fast pass people in, and you think, oh damn it, if I'd just been 10 seconds earlier, I would have got through. And I've been the other way. I've been in the fast pass line when they've stopped me and let a load of standby people through. But that's just how.
Imagine being in the standby queue and you say, how many's in your party, mate? And you say 17, and you put a hand up and you let everyone through because there's 17 of you trying to get on the ride. It's a nightmare.
Never been in that situation, mate. Listen, there's a couple other things about Lightning Plus. Okay, so Lightning Plus is different from the Lightning line in that you pay this amount, whatever it is, $10, $20, whatever it is, for the top attractions. Probably only a couple of attractions in each park. And again, there's speculation out there about which attractions those are going to be. You can bet 100% Rise of the Resistance is going to be one of them. But my understanding is that it's different to the Lightning line in that Lightning Plus lets you straight to the front of the Lightning line as well, right? So for that $20, you don't wait at all. You're pretty much right in, straight into the ride. So that's one difference between Lightning Plus and Lightning, right?
Yeah.
And another thing to take note of is so as Craig mentioned, I think they're only going to let you buy, 2 Lightning Plus rides per day. So you can't keep riding Rise of the Resistance 20 times a day or, hit every big attraction in one go. And the speculation, again, this is mainly coming from touring plans, but I've seen it in a few places. The speculation is they make a lot of money from VIP tours, and they don't want this to be a cheap version of a VIP tour. So you're only going to be able to do 1 or 2 Lightning Plus rides in a day, per person per day. I'm sure there'll be ways that people can fudge that, or try and fudge it, but that's the thing. The other thing is, if you're a Disney guest, so if you're staying in a Disney hotel, you can actually book your Lightning Plus pass from 7 a.m. in the morning. If you are not a Disney guest, if you're an off-site guest, you can't book that Lightning Plus pass until the park's open. So Disney guests get first dibs on the Lightning Plus passes.
That's an interesting development. Because say it is $10 to go and ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. That's only the price of a beer.
Yeah.
I when we were there 2 years ago, our round was $120, and that was for.
You are Scouse though.
But Craig, that's the price of a beer on top of the price of a bottle of champagne. Do you know what I mean? You've already paid for your park ticket. This is what people are kind of, as far as I'm concerned, this is where people are missing the point. It wasn't that long ago that the whole world went absolutely apeshit when the price of a one-day ticket went above $100. And it's gone beyond that since then. This is all on top of that,
I've got mixed feelings about this. In theory, I should hate this. This is all the things I hate about Disney, right? And I was very vocal about Disneyland Paris and what they were doing there. I think had Disneyland Paris come in with this, where, for 15 euros or 20 euros a day, whatever, you got some of this stuff, I wouldn't have.
Disneyland Paris could do it tomorrow. They could just
They can't. They literally.
These 8 rides, they can just go, these 8 rides, you can pay us €30, €40, and you can all ride them rides once.
Yeah. Okay.
But they haven't got the technology for the other part of it, though, is what we're hearing.
No.
Yeah, they haven't.
And having that with the other, they can't do the other bit. So what they've done is they've just kind of gone for that across not everything, but more rides. They've done that across as many rides as they think they can get away with.
And to be honest as well, other than the peak time, so Christmas, summer holidays, half-term weeks, you can go to Disneyland Paris and not have to use too many fast passes. That is true. I do like to use like fast passes when I'm there, but in reality, I could just spend another 25 minutes queuing up for an attraction that I would have had a fast pass for. So it's different. Disney World and Disneyland are different beasts, and so this is much more necessary, I suppose. But I hear both sides of what you just said there. And on the one hand, you said a beer crate, but let's say a pin, right? If I'm going to pay $15 to get a Genie Plus for the day, I might not go and buy myself a pin that I might have done in the shop. But Disney still got that money that I would have spent on merchandise. Now, in a way, that's actually better for Disney because that's just free money. In essence, when you're buying a pin, they've had to design that pin and pay somebody. They've had to manufacture that pin and pay somebody. They've had to get it shipped over, which costs money. Then they've got to sell it in the shop, which costs money. Do you know what I mean? So they're actually seeing more dollars from me spending 15 quid or $15 on Disney Genie Plus than if I decided to buy myself a pin or something like that.
Where just Genie Plus for me potentially falls down is the same as the legacy Fast Pass system. Is if you're not quick enough, because it says when them rides are available, it doesn't say you walk off Splash Mountain and then you walk on Big Thunder Mountain and then you walk on Haunted Mansion. It says it gives you a return time. So if you
it's one at a time as well.
Exactly. So if you get it wrong and you really want to go on Splash Mountain, but the next return time is 4:00 in the afternoon, you've just cut your own throat for the day.
Yeah.
Or you don't book that and you just go and queue up. But people will be naive and will cock up, and then it'll be Disney's fault. It won't be the person's fault.
Yeah. I personally think anyone that's going to pay this money for Genie Plus will have more of an idea of what they're doing. Except, when you've got free fast passes, which is what we're used to, everyone has access to it and everyone's going to be using it, and people will make rookie mistakes. Anyone that's going to be paying for this service, you would have thought would have done some research.
Yeah.
And when Fast Pass Plus come out, didn't they limit it to 2 initially? And when it was in beta, and then when it went mainline, the further down the line, they made it 3. So this could change. This could change. You could maybe book 3.
Yeah, it almost certainly will change. And that's one of my concerns though, Craig, is, Disney has got a long, even before Chapek and, his return to Gordon Gekko philosophy that greed is good, even beforehand, Disney's got a long history of constantly jacking up the prices way above inflation, right? Whether that's theme park ticket prices or whatever. And recently that's just accelerated. So if this goes in and it's relatively successful, it won't be that long before it's not a beer, it's 2 beers or 3 beers or 4 beers. It's all supply and demand. As far as Disney's concerned, it's supply and demand. And I think,
I was watching a vlog the other day, and it was $5.50 for a bottle of water.
Yeah.
And it was cheaper to buy a lemonade.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's long been a thing. I mean, when we went to Galaxy's Edge, I bought a Coke, a Sprite. P-Dubs bought a couple of bottles as well because we wanted the bottles. Those bottles were like, I want to say about $6 each, and they were less than the size of a can, like a regular can. So, that's famously something that Disney's always done. That's not too much of a surprise, but I think with this, look, the comments. I'm just looking at Disney Parks blog. 50 likes, 127 negative comments. Somebody posted a few hours ago. People are really, really unhappy with this. As people are with change in general. Now, the people I do feel sorry for are people like Kate over on Mickey Waffles, who's now planning her first Disney World holiday, has been dreaming of this for years, been planning to do this for years, finally able to do it, obviously COVID restrictions dependent, but, you know, hopefully doing it beginning of next year. And all the things she was expecting, all the planning that she has been doing to maximize her time and stuff like that is now gone. Because this is the new process. So now she's either got to find money, you know, either for her entire trip or for specific days when they feel that they're going to need it the most, which is extra cost on a holiday they weren't expecting. And all right, it's $15 a day, but it adds up. It's like parking; it adds up. So you know,
it's $15 per day per head. Right.
Yeah, so it's $30 a day for two people.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't feel sorry for Kate. I mean, Kate will have a great time.
Yes.
And she's gone at a time of year where I think, you know, crowd levels will probably be a little bit lower.
Yeah,
so
the only problem she's got,
issue.
the only problem she's got is I think she's there for the run weekend.
Yeah.
So that weekend will be,
that'll drive things up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the people I feel sorry for is, you know, mom and dad and 3 kids, because it's $15 per person per day. Right?
Yeah, no kids prices.
Yeah. Right. And I think the other thing, there's 2 other things about this that I've got a problem with, and then I'm gonna say something different. So the other 2 things are, I think one of the things that people are unhappy about is on the top of the parking cost, right? That was introduced a couple of years ago. This is another one of those where literally Disney hasn't increased its costs in this area, right? You know, they had free parking at the resorts for Disney guests forever, and now they suddenly decide we're going to start charging for this. So it's kind of money for nothing. You're not getting anything. You're not getting any added value for what you're paying for the parking. You're getting the same thing, free, but now you're paying for
what you had for free for
and the
years.
Fast Pass is the same.
Yeah,
you had it free for a
Agreed.
year. Well, free. It wasn't free though. It was in the price of your hotel room, right?
Yes.
But now they used this excuse. They said, well, other places charge a resort fee or a parking fee. We're just following them. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. They're charging you twice for parking because it was built into the original cost of the hotel room.
It's the same. It's the same we were talking about. Well, it's the same we were talking about the other night with Magical Express, right? Exact same situation.
Yeah. Right, and this is the same. You know, Fast Pass was free, but it wasn't really free, right? Because Disney charged a huge amount for access to a theme park in the first place, and Fast Pass was just a way for them to try and keep you happy. Remember, FastPass was invented because guests were unhappy that they spent all this money to get into the park and they couldn't ride any other big attractions. So this gave you a chance that at least you'd be able to ride 1 or 2 of the big attractions in with some of the lesser attractions. So FastPass wasn't free. It was in with the cost of your ticket. Now what they're saying is, and again, you got to blame Universal really, right? Universal, to a large extent, have been charging for Express Pass for a long time, and that's given Disney the excuse to just go, well, you know, although they aren't explicitly saying that, everybody knows Universal are charging for it, so it gives Disney the excuse to say, well, you know, here you go. So I think that's the big thing. I think it's another step towards pricing up families on lower income, making it harder and harder for them to go, and I think that's bothering people. And it's another thing where you're basically getting nothing for the increase in price. They're just giving you something. They're just charging you for something that was free before, or it was built into the cost. But the other thing that really pissed me off, and I know that I'm probably being a bit idealistic here, but when you watch that video, it's pretty sickening how they're playing this back to you. You know, it's we have listened to your feedback and we have improved our experience. No, nobody asked for paid Fast Pass. I'm sorry. Nobody ever.
No, of course
right?
they didn't.
It's bullshit, right?
So here's the thing.
I know they've got to dress it up. I know it's a business and they know this is going to be unpopular and they've got to dress it up. But I mean, they don't have to be so over the top, saccharine sweet, stick it in your face, you know. And then they got the fake panel at the end, where none of them are asking any really tough questions. One woman kind of touched on the, well, how's this going to go for a family? But it was a fake question. Yeah. Yeah.
Executed off
it's
screen.
A fake question. None of them were asking the tough questions.
It will. Know what will be interesting as well. Actually, it will be interesting to hear what those Saccharine Disney podcasts are saying, right? Because we know that the biggest criticism we ever get on this podcast is, "Oh, you've always got something negative to say." So I want to hear those really happy clappy Disney podcasts where Disney can do no wrong. I want to hear how they're reacting to this, because these people on social media, they're not happy. So it'll be interesting if they carry on their normal charades on their actual podcasts and vlogs and everything else, because they're saying something completely different on their social media feeds.
Yeah. I'm not going to go on about this because it is what it is. It's done, and it's the way of the world. And, it could have actually been worse, right? I mean, you were hearing all sorts of things, and I fear it will get worse, though. That's the only problem. How much worse, I don't know. But if this is successful, Disney will put up the prices, and they'll keep squeezing as much out of as they can. But hey, for now, it's a reality. And the only other thing I was going to say was, we know that they wanted to introduce virtual standby queues as well.
Yeah. And
for your average guest who isn't, a vlogger or a blogger or an expert in theme parks, and who hasn't been, 15 times or whatever, your average family who goes maybe, once every 5 years, 10 years, whatever, they wait until the kids are a reasonable age and they take them. My God, it's a lot of information to take in, especially if they bring out virtual queues at some point in the near future. You got virtual queues, you got My Disney Experience, you got Genie app, Genie Plus, Lightning Pass Plus, ADRs,
all these terms. I completely agree. Craig, what was you going to say?
Well, I mean, first of all, Universal, right? If you're staying at a deluxe hotel, you do it right. You give it away with the hotel. It's hidden in the cost. But that hotel room is $350 per night. You can fit 5 people in them rooms, right? And each one of them gets unlimited express. If you walk up to the park on the day at Universal, the baseline it'll say on the website is, for example, from $69 plus tax, from $79 plus tax, whatever, from $99 plus tax. I showed you lot the other week an express pass with one go on each ride was over $300 for the day. So a family of 4 rocking up at Universal, they're going to be paying $1,200 a day. At least Disney are rinsing people a little bit more. It's more palatable. So a family of 4, it's going to cost me $60 a day if I choose to do that. And if I choose to go and ride the 2 flagship rides that I'm allowed to ride that day in different parks, worst case scenario, it's another $200 because it's $25 times 12. But that's not likely to happen.
An express pass, just correct me, but express pass is on top of a park admission, so you couldn't just buy an express pass. You'd have to buy an express pass on top of your ticket for the day. Yeah. So actually, that's interesting, Craig, what you said there, because that was what I was going to bring up. So in the UK, especially, now bearing in mind our American guests, American audience, when they're going to Disney World, they're going for 5 days, they're going for 7 days. When we're going to Disney World, we're going for 14 days, we're going for 21 days. It's a big difference in the length of the holiday that we have when we go to Florida. In the UK, we would get things like Memory Maker thrown in for free. Obviously, Magical Express used to be free, blah, blah, blah. Dining plan used to be included as well. So now that that's on the back burner, they're obviously doing a little thing at the moment, like a gift card thing, so much per day for hotel guests spend on whatever, but it's not the dining plan. So do you think that this is something which maybe 6 months, a year down the line, this will be included in moderate hotel stays?
I personally think at some the dining plan the UK gets is not the dining plan the Americans get, because they're only there for so many days, and theirs is very targeted to this weekend. It's available, that weekend it's available, whereas we'll get it for like the whole summer, but only at certain hotels as well. So they're very targeted in how they put the dining plan out there. But if you're in the right place at the right time and it's the hotel you want to stay at the time of year you want to stay at, absolutely, it's fantastic. I think Brits eventually will get this worked into their packages I think they'll get the Disney Plus, the Genie Plus. I mean, Kerry said $60 a day. So if we go for 10 days on the bounce, it's only $600. They were their words. Yeah. Only $600. And when you're spending £17,000 on a holiday, and I'm not being big-headed, that's just how it is, right? Because we fly premium economy. We're flying in August. The biggest part of our holiday isn't the Disney bit or the Universal bit. It's the flights. We're getting rinsed on the flights. £1,750 per person.
And also the hotel as well, because you're not staying at a Pop Century or an All-Star Resort.
No, I'm staying at a
and that's level. Your choice. I'm not saying, I'm just pointing out that yes, you're paying through the nose for flights, but you're also not staying at basic accommodation.
And back in the day, we would have had a car, and we would have got a car for $400-500, and we would have fueled the car, and we would have had to pay a bit of parking. You paid at Universal, you paid at the Hard Rock, you had to pay, so we don't get a car anymore. So that cost is gone. We give our time to Disney Transport. There's all algorithms at play here that we don't understand. They're still limiting numbers in the parks, and that has got to mean something. They're still saying I was watching the Disney food blog on YouTube the other day, and some of the days parks they're still saying you can't get a pass for the park this day. You can't get in today.
Yeah.
No, I believe they're still not at 100% capacity. I think they're still ramping up, but they're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what is capped? What is 100% capacity? It's Christmas Day, surely, is 100% capacity.
Yeah, pretty much. It's different. It's different for each park, I think. But Disney don't share those numbers. I mean, people have estimated them.
Yeah, but the fact is, at the moment, that if a park has 50% capacity, that's 100% capacity. What we're saying is, Craig, that what is 100% capacity right now?
No,
because
I know
the COVID
that.
restrictions aren't 100% capacity.
No.
Yeah, I get that, but they're still turning people away when it's full, and and that is not going away anytime soon, right? And they enable them to plan, to order the foods, to do the rostering, to work out, micro plan the costs, which is what Disney's all about now, nickel and dime people.
Well, I think the other thing, Craig, is that they're still throttling back because they don't have the staff. Right? There's a massive staff shortage. I mean, if you just think about, the international programs, most of the restaurants and shops in Epcot and all, most of the restaurants in Animal Kingdom Lodge were staffed by natives of those countries. UK Pavilion, that's where my daughter worked.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there that are being backfilled by Native American, natural American citizens.
Yeah.
And they've lost people, they've laid people off, and they haven't got them all back again. So everything is being gradually ramped up as COVID is allowing it, but also as their own, staffing is allowing it. So it will take some time, who knows how long, but I guess this thing that we're talking about tonight, the MaxPass and that sort of thing, that's here beyond that. I mean, that's here for the long term.
Yeah.
Now.
I mean, right. Let's cut to the chase now, right? Mr. D, when you go next, you're probably going to be the next person to go. Sorry, sorry, Dubs, but probably Mr. D is going to be the next person to go. Will you pay out for it?
Yeah, we will. So let me tell you what we're thinking. I mean, obviously there's still stuff to be revealed here. We don't know everything, but based on what we've just talked about, next time we go, we're probably going to do, and there's a few moving pieces, but it'll probably be like 3 nights in Universal and 14 nights in Disney. So for the time that we're in Disney, and we've joined DVC now, so any possibility of us getting this through a UK package is gone, right? Same with the dining plan. If and when that comes back again. So in our case, I'm sure we will have to just pay for this stuff, which is fine. So I think what we would do is, we plan our days in the parks, and for certain days we would probably buy the Genie Plus. But I don't think we'd necessarily buy it at the beginning of the holiday. I think we'd go and see how we got on, and see how the crowds are, and how things are falling up. Because again, nobody really knows how many of these Genie Pluses people are going to buy, or how many of the Lightning Plus passes people are going to buy. So therefore, you don't know what the standby queues are going to be like. So I think what we'd probably do is, initially, we probably wouldn't buy it. We'd probably go in, see how busy things are, see what we can get on. Obviously, we know the parts quite well, so we're quite able to build little tactics and strategies to try and get on things. We would probably go early in the morning, and because we're staying on site, we'll get that 30 minutes early access. So we try and hit a couple of the big rides in those 30 minutes if we can. And then we suss it out from there. There'll be some days where we'll maybe go to Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon or Disney Springs. So on those days, we wouldn't buy it. That is one of the good things about this. You can choose the days that you're going to buy it and the days that you're not going to buy it. So if we're having a water park day, instead of it being like half water park and then get showered and maybe go to Epcot that night, we might do half water park and then go to Disney Springs or go to the boardwalk and just don't bother that day. So, and then as we get towards the end of the holiday, if we're really struggling to get on something like Ride of Resistance, then just to make sure we got to ride it at least once on that holiday, yeah, definitely. If I could get a hold of those passes,
but Rise of
the
Resistance is not looking like that's going to be on one.
I think it is.
No, it's not mentioned anywhere when they mention like what big attractions they're talking about, and
no.
Because of the boarding group situation, that is not likely to change. I think that is going to remain in place. That said, the fact you're going to be there for as long as you are, the chances of you getting at least one boarding group while you're there are probably pretty high. But
isn't Ratatouille supposed to be rolling out boarding groups as well?
Yeah,
that's going to be the same. So those two attractions are going to. It's a brand new attraction in Epcot. You've been on Ratatouille. We've all been on Ratatouille. We know that is not going to remain in place. That is not going to be an attraction that's on the same level as Rise of Resistance. But for now, they will consider that as being at that same tier. The other advantage you got, Mr. D, as well, is that when you are planning to go, this would have been rolled out for almost a year. Therefore, by that time you will know, based on what's going on. Well, you'll be an expert, but also you'll also have an idea how many days you likely to need it. I'm not saying you're necessarily going to have to like put that in your budget already, but like you say there, how many days might you need it? Well, it could turn out, because of how people now queue for rides, with this implemented, you might need it for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, sure.
That's the thing. Or you might need it for every day you want to go to a park because it's a mess. We don't know, and it's too early for anyone to know this so far. It's going to be interesting. The thing is, this has really upset people. I think if you are being, and I think what we've done tonight has been good, and I hope people listening to this have kind of followed what we've said, because I think when you break everything down, yes, okay, I think we can all appreciate that it is a bit gross in the way that it's being done, and you're charging for something that you never got before. But there are some things which actually might not be such a bad thing. So, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. No one here is saying I'm never going to Disney again or anything like that. It's definitely going to impact how you plan for Disney and how you might do certain things. You might not want to stay as long as you previously did. People might have more split holidays than they did. But I don't think this is, people are like, I'm never going again. I'm cancelling my holidays. All this. I think that's too much of an overreaction. I think once the dust has settled, and also as well, like with everything, the next generations are like the people that are going in 10 years' time. This will be the norm for them. They will have no concept of what we had with Fast Pass or Fast Pass Plus.
Sure.
This will just be normal.
I bet you, though. Go ahead, Craig, sorry.
No, just we would go to a bar to meet girls. The kids now swipe left, swipe right. People are changing. All the theming that's been put into these theme parks is for us to look at and to drink in and to immerse ourselves. But what Disney have done is said, don't look at all the theme and don't look at all the work our Imagineers have done. Look at your phone. Go on your phone. Put your headphones in and listen to your audio description or whatever they're doing with it. Where Lou Mangello's in your ear telling you to look at stuff. So people are going to be walking around. It's basically Wally.
Yeah. Wally with legs.
Wally with legs. We're all just going to be walking around, looking. We're all going to have battery anxiety. We're all going to be looking to plug in. We're all going to be taking battery packs. You're still going to have a backpack on your back. You'll have a car battery in the back, and you'll all be plugged in.
Not all scouts.
The changing how you do the parks.
Yeah.
It's, for me, it's going to kill a lot of the parks. But this is how the kids do everything. Kids walk out in front of cars all the time because they're on the phones. Doesn't make it right, but they still do it.
Yeah. Well, no, that's definitely not right.
I agree with what Nick said. I mean, I think that this isn't even a question. Would I go back to Disney? Of course I would. And we'll have a fantastic time. This isn't gonna spoil that. It is gonna change it, and it's gonna make it cost more, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way of the world. And anybody out there who's never been and is listening to this podcast, don't let this put you off. You'll have a great time, but do your research. Learn how to manipulate it and learn how to use it. And that was the same for Fast Pass Plus, and it was the same for paper Fast Passes. There were definitely strategies and ways that you could maximize your time in a park.
I bet you could go back and find newspaper clippings of Fast Pass Plus coming out and people's heads falling off. We were probably podcasting then when it happened.
We did. We did. We podcasted about it and our heads fell off because change wasn't good. Now, the other thing I will say, I want to talk about one other thing about this, which is disabled access in a minute, because I know that some people have been really concerned about that. So I'm going to address that in a minute. But I would just like to point out, before anyone calls me out, I'm still really angry about what Disneyland Paris have done. Right?
Yeah,
this is not the same as what Disneyland Paris has done, and I still think that is an absolute disgrace. This is nowhere near as bad as Disneyland Paris. The difference is that people don't care about Disneyland Paris in the same way they do about the American parts, and that's why this is such a hot topic.
You're right, but I think in Disneyland Paris, you've got a chance that it will fail. It will fall flat on its face. Whereas this isn't going to fail, right? It's going to be successful to some extent. Some bits of it might be more successful than others, The Genie Plus, I think, will be successful, the $15 a day. The other bit, I don't know, maybe, probably be good. But there's a demand there. The same demand.
For me, for the way we're thinking, and it's only come out in the 24 hours ago, whatever. For us, we're going to be very much like you, Mr. D. We're going to get up in the morning probably and see how we feel. You're going to still use the touring plans, crowd calendars. Disney could be honest and do their own crowd calendars, but they don't. Touring plans do. So still use touring plans.
Yeah.
Look at the crowd calendar. It's a 4, it's a 3. Do I really need this today? But, you know, so there's that thing. So, yeah, Kerry said, oh, it's only $60 a day. That's 10 days, $600. There's water park days, as you said. There's shopping days in that. There's quiet days in that. We're not going to use this every day. We're going to play it by ear. But on the days you're not dropping $60 to do Genie Plus, you could go and drop $60 and go and just do the one ride you really wanted to do and guarantee that you walk straight on it. You know,
that's
so
right. And I think for our American friends who might only be gone for 5 days, and the first time you go, you're probably going to buy this straight out of the gate because you haven't got the time to wait to see. You know, you might only have 1 day in each park, so you're probably going to go for it right out of the gate. Fine, you know. Hope that works well for you.
And the thing with for the Americans, right, is if Disney are posting fake times and people are spending money on the back of them fake times, people will sue Disney and they'll get a class action lawsuit against them. And all the Disney nerds will all sign up to it and they'll sue Disney out of town. And you know that'll happen. There's a Touring Plans video put up last week, I think, or the week before, where Touring Plans pulled apart Disney's wait times. They sent people into the parks and they were 50%. What Disney was saying, if it was a 30-minute wait, it was a 15-minute wait. If it was a 60-minute wait, it was a 30-minute wait. They will, if there's money changing hands now, Disney will get sued.
And that's what's interesting, because, you know, there will be disclaimers. I'm sure when you sign up to use the app, there'll be disclaimers that they can't be held accountable for inaccuracies, blah, 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 blah. But it'll just be interesting to see, and I'm sure Touring Plans will do this comparison, you know, the actual posted wait times at the ride versus what is in the Genie Plus app. Because it could be that Genie Plus is accurate based on people's phones and tracking and blah, 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 and the wait times that are published on the ride. Because the only people that are going to look at the wait times physically on the ride are the people who haven't paid for Genie Plus. Because if you paid for Genie Plus, you're going to look at your phone, right? So did Disney keep those two in sync, or do they try?
I think they've got to, because, I mean, you can stand at a bus stop and you can see your time on your bus is coming down, down, down. And then as long as that bus is still moving, it will arrive on time. It's only when, I mean, again, Nick's just touched there on the disability side of things. That's not against disabled people, but rides get stopped and shut down while they put a wheelchair on, while they take a wheelchair off. All this type of stuff. There might be a protein spill. There could be any number of things that throw the algorithm out. Do you know, how do you factor in? You've got humans in this system. Humans cock everything up.
There's one other small point I just wanted to make. Obviously, as Craig mentioned, you know, this is going to be driven by people's phones. You're going to have to be checking the app, looking for your next, I won't call it Fast Pass, but your next Lightning Pass or wait times or whatever. And sometimes the Wi-Fi in the park's a bit patchy. So if you're coming from another country like the UK, you might just want to think about that. You know, does your provider allow you to use your data in the US, or do you need to think about paying for something or buying a local, you know, a SIM card from Walmart or whatever? So there's just a few things to think about there. I've never had too much trouble with the Wi-Fi, but it is a little bit spotty at times.
It's patchy. I used it in there a little bit, and you know, only in Hollywood Studios, and you know, it was okay, but it wasn't great. Now the thing is that is obviously updating. You know, that they will improve the Wi-Fi. Coming out. Exactly. You know, more coverage. I mean, I think in the end, I actually switched to my data because I was on 3, so I could, you know, use my data abroad. So that
music to my ears. I'm getting my new 3 phone tomorrow,
Oh well, I'm on O2 now, so I'm screwed. I've got to pay about 15 quid or something for the extra.
Well, I've just switched from Vodafone to 3.
Yeah.
We're on Vodafone. 3. You must have been made of money.
Yeah.
Well, no, I had a bit. Well, they thought so when it came time to renew. I had a good deal before that, but yeah, they must have thought so because the renewal price was a shocker with 3. So I'm on 3, so that helps me. But there's things like that people, if they're coming from another country, not just the UK,
and
just
we can do an
that.
episode on all that type of stuff. We can do some detective work about all the mobile providers and stuff that you don't think about.
It's a good idea actually, because it's something that I think a lot of us know. I mean, look, the last time I went for a proper trip to Florida for 3 weeks, I had to buy a SIM from eBay from an American seller, so I had an AT&T SIM card for me to use in the States because data roaming at that time was a little bit iffy. That's no longer the case. You can buy bundles and you can all odds and sods. So I
got Chris Speed to go to Walmart for me on his family holiday and buy me burner phones.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do.
He brought into the country for me. And
I think I got
just buy the SIM.
Yeah, I think I got my brother to buy me a sat nav from Walmart because obviously it come loaded with the American maps. So I couldn't figure out how to get them in the it seemed to be too much faff to try and buy them in the UK. So I just bought an American sat nav. So when I went to the States, it was ready to go. Another thing you don't need to do so much nowadays. I'm gonna talk about the disabled access. Craig, do you need to shoot off or?
Yeah, I will actually because it's getting on. I've left our Grace is upstairs, so I'm in Elgin. I'm in Scotland. What are they? What did I have? Oh, the haggis. They come out this time of night, and they're a bit ferocious. Yeah.
So you want to be careful.
It was
breadsticks.
It was lovely to chat, boys. It was lovely to chat and talking to people like Kate. Kate, don't let it worry you. Please, you'll be foaming at the mouth on the next. Yeah, you'll be so angry on the next Mickey Waffles, but don't let it worry you.
She won't be.
Do your own work.
She won't be because she'd have listened to this episode by that point, and she'll have mellowed out. But we're going to talk about disabled access now. So Craig, you can listen to that later on. But thank you for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Bye. Stay safe up in Scotland.
Cheers,
keep away from those haggis.
Okay, the new Jimmy.
So see you later.
That's all our Scottish listeners gone. Okay, so disabled access service or DAS pass has been a thing for a long time. That is also coming as part of the Genie. Now, what's interesting is there's going to be an option to pre-register for both parks. So it says guests will be able to set up a virtual call with a cast member as early as 30 days in advance to register for a DAS pass. During the video chat, guests will be able to select up to 2 experiences per day using the new DAS advanced planning option. These selections must be booked at least 2 days prior to the day you plan to redeem them, as you will not be able to make these selections the day of your park visit. As long as the attractions you're looking to select are available, you will receive a 1-hour return time for the day of your visit. The selections you make will show up in your My Disney Express account. Previously, if you're requesting a DAS pass, you would be required to talk to a cast member in person. However, once the new Disney Genie system launches, guests who are registered in the system will be able to make their return time selection straight from the My Disney Experience app while they are in the parks. So there are some changes. My understanding, I think, with DAS is that you didn't have restrictions, i.e., you weren't capped to how many attractions you could use those on a day. I'm not entirely sure. So it is going to be more restrictive. And I know that is probably going to upset at least one listener. No, I know I've been talking to already. But yeah, that's what that's going to be doing. Now, what it doesn't say, and what I'm assuming is probably going to be the case is that because it doesn't say you need to have Genie Plus for this.
Right.
So this is free.
According
to this, this is free, like the DAS Pass used to be. So I'm assuming that wouldn't stop you if you wanted to upgrade it to Genie Plus, that you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I'm sure Disney would be happy to take your money.
Exactly. So
I'm glad that the DAS Pass is. It should be. You shouldn't have to pay to get access to that.
No. Well, the other what I think is good as well is the fact that you're able to pre-do this. Because one of the things you had to do at the beginning of the holiday, and obviously I've been trying to find this out because this is obviously going to affect our next holiday when we do this. Is you had to go and see somebody, and then you have to go and speak to them and get it all sorted out, and get it set up. So that's going to save that time. Your first day in the parks, you're able to crack straight on because it's all been done. Now, what is interesting, and this is another difference between Disneyland Paris and the American parks. So when you go to Disneyland Paris and you need a disabled access pass, you have to go with evidence of what your disability is, because they determine what type of pass you get. There's a green and an orange pass. The green pass was for permanent disabilities. The orange was for temporary. So things like if you broke your leg or if you were pregnant, that's what the orange pass is for. And you had to go with a letter from your doctor or a letter from your local authority in the UK with a diagnosis of what your condition was, or a disabled parking badge, like a blue badge, because all of those things, you can't just get a blue badge. You get those offered to you if you've got certain disabilities, and it's all done through correct channels. So therefore, they would accept anything like that. My wife, for example, when she was pregnant, she had to take her birth planning book with her from the hospital. With all the doctor's notes in it. She had to carry that with her, obviously, in case anything happened. But that's what Disney used to determine she was able to get a disabled pass. So that's what Disneyland Paris have always done. In America, they can't ask you for evidence of any of this stuff. So you can people could rock up and say, I'm disabled. And they can't ask you for any evidence of that. They can't ask you what disability you've got or to prove that you've got any disability. So it was always a particular bone of contention because people abuse that system. We know people abuse that system because some people with a bit more of a following than other people would also use this service with no real need to have it, or certainly nothing that they were disclosing. Now, people get very sensitive about this and about, privacy and everything like that. I've never understood why, if you've got a disability, why you can't discuss that with a professional. I'm not asking you to disclose it publicly, but I never saw anything wrong with the Disneyland Paris version of you need to, to explain what your disability is or prove you've got that disability. So that's one thing they've never been able to do. And it's also one of the reasons why when Disney World decided to drop the mask mandate, as long as you were vaccinated, everyone went to the parks without masks because they couldn't ask you to prove your vaccination status. So one of the things in the kind of small print of this section of the Genie and DAS service is it says, what happens if any of the statements made by guests in the process of registering for DAS are found to be not true? And it says, if Disney determines that any of the statements a guest made in the process of obtaining DAS are not true, the guest will be permanently barred from entering Walt Disney World Resort and the Disneyland Resort, and any previously purchased annual passes, Magic Key passes, tickets, and other park products and services will be forfeited and not refunded. That is a big ass statement, and that I'd like to think that is I think I personally, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think people are going to kick off about that.
How are they going to know, though? How does if they can't ask you for proof of your disability, how are they going to know?
That's what's interesting. That is what's going to be interesting. So they're obviously now saying you've got to have these video calls. So I guess they're going to determine that based on what you say or how you say it. It depends on how good how good your poker face, I suppose. Really.
But again, presumably in these calls, though, they can't ask you what your disability is, can they?
Well, I'm assuming it's still going to be the same. I think, but the thing is now they're kind of really kind of hammering home, like if we suspect you're lying about this, we are going to take all these steps. Now you're quite right, and I guess what would happen here is, let's just say somebody said, I have got a problem with my leg. I'm not able to stand for long periods of time because of such and such, right? If that's what they're going to say. If Disney found that to be a lie, and they turn around and said, right, we believe that you fraudulently claimed for this, I guess at that point, you would have to, the only way to defend that is to show actual proof. I'm sure Disney would have to give you a reason to, defend that accusation if they were to be as bold as to make one. I mean, look, in reality, do I think Disney are going to really go to town on this? Probably not. I think
they just have some pretty strong evidence.
It's a bit like I'm looking at this a bit like when people used to make claims for disability in the UK, as reasons for not being able to work. I can't, I've hurt my back, so I'm not able to work at the moment. And then, somebody undercover would film them running a marathon. And that stuff happened, right? That is legitimately stuff that happened. So, I'm guessing it's going to be a bit like that. A vlogger this week, and this is different to the Fast Pass, but just to kind of emphasize this. So a prominent Disney vlogger this week went on a Disney cruise, and because he was unvaccinated, he had to have a test before going on the cruise. Fine. And he filmed all that, and that was fine. However, he has been in the parks since the parks reopened, since a mask mandate was dropped for people that were vaccinated, and not wearing his mask in the parks. So he completely outed himself there, because he was obviously not vaccinated, but he was going into the parks saying he was vaccinated and not wearing his mask.
Yeah.
So that video quickly came down and got re-edited with that section taken out to not show him getting the test, because obviously why would he have a test? He's vaccinated. But he was, that was obviously found out. So that's not something that's going to get you a DAS pass anyway, having COVID. But do you know what I mean? It's doing stuff like that. It's saying to Disney, I'm not able to walk, or I'm not able to stand for a long time because I've got that, and then they appear in Run Disney or something. Do you know what I mean? You can't have it both ways. So I think all this will do is it will make people that would have seen this as an easy option think twice before doing it. You'll still get people that will do it, and you'll get people that play the system. People always play the systems, and some people will win and some people will lose. But if you've got stuff to lose now because of it, you're going to think twice. That's what I see it as. I still think and they can't, because it's part of like US law. But for me personally, I don't see why anyone shouldn't have to show why they are. I mean, my son, if you go and meet my son, it's very obvious that he is not the typical 7-year-old. He can't talk, he can't communicate, he can't speak. He says, makes a few noises, says like very, very few words. So it's obvious with him that there is something wrong with him. He's not neurotypical, but people do have hidden disabilities, and I completely get that. But for me, you're not asking to show that to the person standing behind you in the queue. You are you should be asked to prove that to somebody who's a professional.
Yeah.
and that information stays in that room. I don't see why you're allowed to do it in other Disney parks. You're not allowed to do it there. I said, well, I mean, I do. It's the law, but I don't see why that is right, because literally you can just go and say, yeah, I'm disabled, and they just give you a pass before. So yeah, it's it's interesting. But so for people that use the DAS pass now or would need to use the DAS pass going forward on future trips, that is the new situation. So you get 2 attractions per day as part of the Genie DAS service that you would be able to book up in that time frame. So there is still something there. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is not as good as what was there before, but it's still something. I mean, they should always make provisions. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying be grateful they're doing a little something. Of course not. But at least there is still something there that is part of a free service that isn't.
Yeah.
The only thing it doesn't say is how many people that allows you for. So my understanding is traditionally that would be your party. So, if you're a family of 4 or a family of 6, everyone in that party would be able to be able to go and do the attraction at the same time, or go to the show at the same time. So it doesn't say that, but I'm guessing because it will all be linked through the app and your parties all, linked together, that it will count in that way, but it doesn't specifically say that.
It's interesting. I was reading something, I can't remember the details of it, but they are also changing the rider swap policy.
Oh, okay.
The kiddie swap policy. I'm just trying to find it now. Okay, so one adult can wait with the non-rider or riders while the rest of the party enjoys the attraction. When the other adult returns, they can supervise the non-riding guests, and the waiting adult can board the attraction without having to wait in regular line again. So, it looks like, because I think what used to happen before was, let's say you had 6 people and one kid didn't want to ride it. So one adult would stay with the kid and 4 people would ride. And then those 4 people would come off and one of the 4 would swap with the adult and stay with the kid that didn't want to ride. But then the other 3 plus that one adult would go and ride again.
Yeah.
And I think they've clamped down on that. I think they've changed it so that it's only the adult who didn't ride. I think that gets to ride again, something like that. Anyway, I think they've tightened it up a little bit.
Yeah, I just read an article that pretty much says what you said. I actually don't like that, and I'll tell you why. And I've never used this. Actually, no, that's not true. We did use this once in DLP, and on that occasion, it was the 3 of us. It was me, my wife, and my daughter. So she was too small to go on Space Mountain. She wouldn't have wanted to go on it anyway. She's such a wuss. says the man who was a massive wuss until his late 20s. So what we did is my wife went on first. I waited for my daughter. Then she came off, and then I went on. So that worked fine. But what I don't like about that, if you've got kids, so if it was the 4 of us, and we had to do that, and I can't see how we would, but if we did, so if my son couldn't go on, maybe it's a ride not suitable for autistic kids, whatever. So my wife and daughter would be able to go on, and then I would be able to go on my own, but I wouldn't be able to go on it with my daughter.
Yeah,
that I think is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Then you're picking who, which one gets to experience it with their kid. And let's be honest, half the fun of going on attractions, which, when you've got children, is to experience it with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit harsh.
I'm just trying to read it here. because I think supervision of the non-rated party to
it says the policy previously read: if the person in party 2 waits alone with the child, he or she may bring up to 2 other guests back to the ride to ride the attraction with him or her. Please note that only 3 guests are allowed per rider switch.
Okay.
It now states, please note if the person in party 2 waited alone with a child or non-riding guest, the number of guests who may join him or her and ride again is limited.
Is limited. So it sounds like you could go back on with the kids.
It could be one.
Yeah.
It could be none.
Yeah. So I don't think you have to go back and ride it on your own. I think if there's 17 of you, if there's Craig in the family, right, and 15 ride it.
Are you suggesting
two don't? Then I don't think 15 get to ride it the second time.
Are you suggesting that this is down to Craig?
No. Although maybe
it could well be. Yeah. So,
but I mean, you can see how people would abuse it. You know, if you've got a big group like that, you're probably going to have a baby. So great, everybody gets to ride it twice, apart from the baby who was never going to ride it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing is, it could also be discretional because it doesn't say. It says the number of guests who may join him or her and ride again is limited.
So I think it's it's the cast members' discretion, really.
Yeah.
And it probably, which is fine. I think that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, when my daughter's brave enough to go on something like Space Mountain, and if we got my son who won't get on it, saying that actually he's probably going to be the daredevil. So, but I'd want to go on it with her. I'd want to experience it as well. Sure. And if they turn around and said, like, oh, well, only one of you can go on with your, with this child, that's a hard decision. It's not exactly Sophie's choice, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, which one of us gets to experience this? And then I suppose the next attraction you could swap over, but that's not the family experience to me. I've got no problem riding rides on my own. I do it all the time, but yeah, it'd be a shame. So that's interesting. Not particularly clear. Maybe more on that will come out as people get to use that service now, kind of going forward. But it's something good to call out on. So I think overall, would you say that you're not too negative on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm negative about the principle, but
and I'm not saying you're no one is going to be complete this is exactly what they should be doing. There'll be issues, but I'm negative about the direction that Disney has taken in general, and this is just one more example of it. In terms of the actual thing itself, it's just a harsh reality of the world, and I don't think it's going to stop anybody from having a good time. I think you'll be able to ride most of the rides anyway if you employ just some sensible strategies, and if you need to top that up with some Disney or some Genie pluses, then it's not too bad. It's not as bad as it could have been. It's not as bad as the Disneyland Paris version where everything is a standalone paid for ride. So yeah, I think it's manageable. I think we'll just have to, bite the bullet and incorporate it into our next holiday and figure out how to make it work. So yeah, it's and just interested to see what else comes out. There's going to be more details. I mean, the actual rides that are going to be included in the Lightning Plus. I mean, I think it's going to be Rise of the Resistance. I think it's going to be Slinky Dog. But there's lists online. You can find the list, 2 or 3 attractions per park. It's going to be quite. If you and me wanted to sit here now, we're not, because it's long enough. But
plus
we could
my
sit
battery's
here.
at 1%, by the way, so I might suddenly
drop off. Super.
So I'm going to say good night now, just in case.
Just in case,
Just in case I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could sit here and guess what these attractions are going to be, but they're going to be quite obvious. Steve Wilson. So we've had one bit of feedback already on this announcement, and he says, for what it's worth, his early thoughts thoughts on it are, it's always a bit of a shock when these things are finally announced, even though it was no surprise. I think I'm going to have to properly reserve judgment for a year. We've had 3 delayed trips planned in the next 13 months.
Yeah.
And we're paying close attention to how it affects the enjoyment in the parks. I'm not keen on the upcharge, and the only time we might use that is when we may take my wife's daughter next May. She hasn't been for about 15 years, and if we have to, we may buy the passing for $15 a day each for the 4 theme parks on one day each. But if we struggle to get on rides, if it's just 2 of us, it's normally, as it normally is, I wouldn't entertain it, as we've been many times, and missing out on a few rides is not a biggie. But if after these visits we find that this new system is going to mean standing in long lines or holiday, then I think it will be the breaking point. I can imagine selling one of our DVC contracts and keeping one, and possibly visiting every 2 or 3 years rather than once or twice a year. There are many more places I want to visit, and perhaps this will be what makes us take that step and not automatically go to Florida. And
I suppose the only thing for Steve is the kind of converse is, is if you go more often, you need Fast Pass less, I think, or Lightning Pass less.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, the thing is, it's how you holiday, right?
Yeah, I suppose it's different.
If your holiday is, if I don't get on all these attractions, I'm going to be pissed. Then you're going to have to do something, or you might need to do something, because again, we don't know. So I think that's where it's going to come into it. And the thing is, for people like Steve, he's not saying he's going to, well, that's it, I'm never going to Disney, but it might rethink his DVC strategy, because if it's not as appealing as it was anymore, I get that. And the thing is, it is going to change how people go, and it is going to be, it's going to change how people want to do Disney. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because I've certainly grown to love Universal more over the years. There are other theme parks in Florida. There are other places to go, like he says as well. So I can see this being a blip in the road, but time will tell. So I'm really sorry for anyone expecting a massive rant. There are many negatives. There are also some positives. It's going to be interesting, but for me, this is not the end of Disney. People will, I think, accept it over time, rightly or wrongly. And if it works, Disney are laughing all the way to the bank. And if it doesn't work, I guarantee we'll have something new in 5 years' time for us to moan about instead.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's a good attitude.
Right. Well, look, let's 100%. Wrap that episode up before Mr. D's phone definitely dies. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for Craig joining earlier on. We're going to have a little bit of a break now. Patrons, you're going to get a new episode on the 30th of August, because I'm taking some holiday for the first time in forever. And we will be back on the 6th of September for another Disney Parks and Beyond. So we'll see you then.
All right then. Take care. Enjoy your holiday, Nick. I know I'll probably talk to you before, during, and after, but
probably.
Hope it's a good one.
Thank you.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.
This podcast is sponsored by the Castle Club Boutique. The Castle Club Boutique is a small Etsy store creating Disney-inspired classic fashion tees, plus personalised family trip tees inspired by the Disney parks and your favourite classic Disney films. They also stock accessories, children's wear, and most recently, home decor. Do you have a family trip or special occasion coming up? Let them help you design a perfect custom tee to mark your event by emailing sales@castleclubboutique.com. They ship free to the UK and also worldwide for a small fee. You can find their store on Etsy or follow on Instagram at the Castle Club Boutique. And if you quote Disney Parks, you'll receive 10% off your order at the checkout. So show the Castle Club Boutique some love, and we thank them for supporting this podcast.